Kevin is from Apprenti, and I know I know Apprenti through. So I'm in Boston, and I know Apprenti
Oh, cool.
through Ethan Kenvarg, who
Hmm.
man, I've been in touch with him like professionally friendly for probably about the last year. And before launching into a brief introduction about you, I think what struck me about Apprenti is there's so much it's the space that focuses on like doing the actual training for veterans into tech jobs. There's a lot you really have to suss out who the actors are. It's a lot of different motivations, and I found Apprenti to be a very honest broker, which is about the highest praise you can give in this area, I think, because
Thank you.
you, talking to Ethan, basically all the checks and balances that you'd wish some of these programs would do, it seems like Apprenti does, and that's great. So without further ado, this is Kevin Gadd. Did I pronounce your last name right, Gadd?
Yes, sir.
So he's a retired command sergeant major, and he is the Ohio program manager for Apprenti. And Apprenti is a national nonprofit that helps veterans, people of color, and women get into technology careers through registered apprenticeship. And I've learned that registered apprenticeship is important. That's like essentially a legal term that indicates the Department of Labor has, given their blessing, so to speak, and it implies a fair bit of oversight, which is voluntary to do that, and Apprenti did, which is great. So during his 23 years of service, Kevin served 18 years in the Air Force communications and technology roles and capped his career as a state diversity officer for the Ohio Air National Guard and Ohio Air National Guard, and then the director of the Army National Guard Air A&G Mission Driven Mentoring Program. That was a
There you
mouthful. I
go.
apologize.
That's fine.
So he's co-founded, funded, and mentored several technology-based companies and taught entrepreneurship at the Ohio State University and also in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, at Dar Al Hekma. Is that
Very,
correct?
very good. You're doing well.
All right, yeah, I'm trying here. So
I didn't know you were
so
going to read the whole thing.
oh, the whole thing. So other than that, take it away. And I know some people in this chat are in the position to be able to advocate for Apprenti in their networks. So that should be interesting to hear. And anything else? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that intro. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we would have folks that are trying to get into tech careers or folks that are in a position of hiring or in a position of influence. So there's a little bit of both in this presentation. So, and again, I don't know if everybody can unmute or talk, but if you can, please jump in with a question or put it in the chat, and we'll figure that out. Again, I've got a full screen here too. So.
Certainly. And
Um,
we're also recording, so we'll blast this out to the rest of the community later.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, yeah, as was mentioned, I'm retired to Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, but I think it's the Command Sergeant Major in the
Oh my, yeah, there you
Army.
go.
It's okay. The E9's good
Yeah,
enough.
there you go.
And yeah, most of my career was in comm. So I did everything from ComSec to comm centers to fixed comm to combat comm, a little bit of everything. In my time. And then, yeah, I capped my career. I led that mission driven mentoring program for the Air National Guard for like 5 years, which was part of our diversity initiative and focused on leadership. So just trying to help folks, move up in their leadership skills through mentoring. Really fired up about Apprenti. When I had the opportunity to join Apprenti, it just really hits on everything that I find important. We are, as was mentioned, funded by the Department of Labor, and we do focus on underrepresented groups and helping them to get into tech careers, all tech careers. We do a fair amount of security jobs, but we do mostly software developers, I think, and we do put a lot of veterans into jobs. So I'm going to go over that. Again, if you have questions, just let me know. And I appreciate you all for being here. The reason the Department of Labor said, hey, we got to figure this out is because there's a giant gap in the number of openings versus the number of people that are qualified to get these tech jobs. And 4-year degrees they're not gonna cut it. There's just not enough of them being produced to fill the need that the companies have. So the Department of Labor said, hey, look, we've got to figure out a way to help here. And we have this we have this program of apprenticeship that we use in skilled trades all the time. I wonder if we could apply that to tech jobs. And this nonprofit out of Seattle, Washington, is where headquarters is. Put in for the RFP and won the RFP to be the national program for registered tech apprenticeship. And that is key, as was mentioned earlier. This isn't just we do this, we go apprenticeship or internship. This is federally registered apprenticeships. And there are benefits on both sides to the company as well as the individual that's going through the process. We think it's the best. Also, as was mentioned, we don't do the training. We are in the middle. We vet any training providers because we have to register them with the federal system. We have to make sure that they are top tier, and we are VA approved, so folks can, veterans with GI Bill eligibility can get GI Bill benefits while they're in our program. So there's a lot of really cool ways to, really cool things about registered apprenticeship. We are a national organization. I'll show you in a few minutes how we've kind of branched out of Seattle. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I am the state director for Ohio. We have a program in Cincinnati and a program here in Columbus right now. I'll show you some of the other places. And again, we've been doing registered apprenticeship for skilled trades in this country for a very long time. So there's a tested model of how that works, which is upfront training with OJT. It's very, very much the same as we all went through, in the military. Basic training, you go to tech school, then you go to OJT. In the Air Force, you go, 3 level, 5 level, 7 level. It's the same process. So you've got a really big focus on the training and the OJT part. Our focus is on veterans, people of color, and women. So groups that are typically not represented well in tech careers. So we spend a lot of time trying to find those folks that want to get into a tech career that belong in those 3 demographics. And we try to nurture them through the process. We've built some proprietary tools. So to get into our system, you have to pass a very, not rigorous, but it's pretty tough, about a 3-hour online assessment. So we're going to test math, critical skills and logic, critical thinking and logic, and then soft skills. So you got to pass that test before you are ever even looked at to be a registered apprentice. At the end of this, the goal is to keep the people. The goal is that after OJT, that the company retains that person, pays them at a qualified rate. And we think that that's way better than you just going out and hiring somebody from a boot camp program and then assuming that everything will work out. Sometimes it does, oftentimes it doesn't. And we just say, I just think that it's better to grow that talent on your own. You're bringing someone across that's dying to get into a tech career. You're helping them across that. You're getting them into the system. You're providing the OJT. There's a very good retention rate. We'll show you that here in a few minutes. We're a little over 80% across the country right now and being retained at the end of that 1-year OJT. Let's see here. Okay. I don't like the way these things build, but there you go. The key thing here is this is registered apprenticeship. And ours is a hybrid model, which means that to pass, to get certified at the end, to become a journey level worker like a plumber would or an electrician would, you have to do 2,000 hours of OJT, and your supervisor has to check it off and say that you have the competency that is required of someone with a 1 year of experience in that tech career. So 2,000 hours just doesn't, alone just doesn't do it. But that's about a year with a couple weeks of paid time off. That's about a year. We try to line that up. Everybody's registered into the system is what it means. There's a federal system called RAPIDS, and we have to register everyone in that system. So everything's tracked. At the end, once that apprentice graduates and gets their 2,000 hours and their competency milestones, they'll get a certificate. The goal the goal of this program is that we can get these folks this journey level worker certificate in about a year and a half, and it is end-to-end tech. And our goal is that that certificate is at least on par with a 4-year degree, of coming out of a 4-year degree, because in that 4 years you do take, you know, maybe about a year or two of technical courses, but you've got a lot of other stuff you have to take. So the goal is to kind of keep them on par. I often say, and I've you know, written in some posts, that this is the comma or equivalent, because often we see, you know, I've seen, you know, you might open jobs and say, need a 4-year degree, comma or equivalent, and no one really knows what that comma or equivalent is. It could be a tech test. It could just be, you know, somebody, could be faking it, could be anything. But with the Department of Labor and this program, that certificate that someone would get at the end, that's a comma or equivalent. That is an equivalent to the 4-year degree. And it shows that if someone passes that here in Columbus, Ohio, and goes to Dallas, Texas, with that certificate, that the person on the other end doing the hiring should say, oh, I can look that up. I can see what the upfront training requirements were, and I can see what the OJT requirements were for someone to be awarded that document. And that, you know, helps you understand their level of competency. They may not have a 4-year degree, but they have the certificate. And a lot of people, you know, as a side note, well over half of the people in our program have a college degree. It's just in something else. I often say that I'm the perfect example of this. We didn't have this, but I got out of 6 years active duty. I was calm the whole time, but I worked in a tiny little place in Germany on 5-hole paper tape, teletype, in a secure facility. And I got out. I got a degree in German from the Ohio State University. And so, you know, many years of typing on a teletype and a degree in German, and I wanted to get a tech job. And that was very hard. And I had to do a lot of things on my own to finally get a chance to break into the career field. And then, you know, kind of went on from there. I would love to have had something like this. You know, it would have been great, but thankfully we have it now, and we're helping a lot of people. This is the process. It maybe looks a little busier than it is. This is kind of how it works. You know, we would work with the company to identify positions that are apprenticeable. So if you're hiring, you know, if you've got a job opening that says, you know, we're looking for somebody with 1 to 3 years of experience, that's perfect. So instead of going out and finding someone with 1 to 3 years of experience, why don't we just make that? Why don't we make that 1 year? Make that 1 year of experience in your shop, on your floor, with your people. So, you know, we have to find those positions, because we don't serve 90% of the open tech jobs out there, right? We are trying to get more people into the pool so that they filter up as years go by. So once we find those open jobs, we find the best training providers. We interview the candidates that have passed that test, and they're sitting in our pool waiting. Once we find the ones that we think will fit the best, we put them together with the company. The company interviews those folks, chooses the ones that they want, and then we put them into the training program. Nobody goes into training unless they have a job offer in hand. Our apprentices do not pay for any training at this point. We don't even let them use GI Bill for the training. They can use it for BAH, but we pay for it through grants. We've got a ton of grants in Ohio. I have about 800,000 in this last grant cycle. I'm hoping to get another 800 here pretty soon. And then the company picks up whatever we can't in grant. Right now, we tend to do half and half. So our software developer training that we put people through is about $14,000. So using 7 in a grant, the company's paying 7, and that person gets, you know, awesome free training and then goes right to job. We manage all the paperwork. We manage, you know, we are there to support them. I was also a first sergeant for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years in comm, and you know, our veterans understand that role, and so I let them know I'm kind of your first sergeant. My job is to get you to the end of that 1 year OJT. I'll pat you on the back, I'll kick you in the butt, I'll, you know, yell at you if I need to, but our goal is to get you to the end of that 1 year and have the company offer you a job. And that's what we're here for. These are the states we're in. I know this is a national thing, so I don't know where everyone's from, but we are actively recruiting people and putting them into jobs in the red states. And we've got some programs, moving along where we're trying to get funding and someone like me to run the program in a couple more states. So our mission is to be national. It's kind of hard to open up a market, but once you've got it, it's not too bad. It just takes funding and local support from the local community, that's for sure. One thing also to say is that we have people coming into our program from all over the place. I've personally moved 10 veterans here to Columbus, Ohio for software developer roles at JP Morgan Chase. We have a very large tech contingent for JP Morgan Chase here just down the road. And we've put 30 folks into the program here in Columbus, with 22, I think, of them being veterans, all at Chase. So people can come into our program and sign up from anywhere, and then they pick these cities that they're interested in going to. And you can pick three of the different cities once you pass the assessment. So we're still looking. I've got 6 veteran roles right now for software developer positions at Chase that we'll start interviewing for here in the next week or so. Those will start training in January, and we assume that there'll be people from all over the country applying for those. So this is our pool. As I said, people can come in from anywhere. I only see the folks that check off Columbus, Ohio, but overall we have about 20,000 applicants in the system. You can see we do a pretty good job on those areas that we target. We do that by speaking to groups that are affiliated with veterans, women, or people of color. We work with a lot of nonprofits that are also doing workforce development in one of those or more of those demographics. So we're constantly out letting folks know what we do so that you can send us great candidates. And then on this side, for those of you that are hiring, you can hire great candidates. It's a wonderful process. It really is. This is a little bit outdated. We've just passed 1,000 apprentices nationally, but we're doing a good job, I think, getting people in that pool like you just saw, and then getting them placed into jobs. These are mature people. We often say that our pool is mature and diverse. And as you can see, the average age is 33. That's nationally. In Columbus, Ohio, it's 32. That's the average age of the people in my pool waiting for a job, and the average age of the people that I have placed in jobs is 32. These are typically folks that, for veterans, they got out of the military, they got a job, got a different job, took some college, didn't really know what they wanted to do, started messing around with something technical, and we're like, this is pretty cool. And then they started looking, how do I get into a tech career? And so they're, a little bit older. We can place folks that are, 18 to 25, but you can see that we typically don't. Our clients want mature people. They're like, I'm cool with training them in the technical aspects of the job. Totally cool with that. Do that all the time. I just don't want to have to deal with immaturity issues. I want mature individuals. And as we all know, most of the veterans that come through, this process that we put them through is competitive, and it's tough, but it's not as tough as what many veterans have gone through with basic training and tech school and deployments. This is nothing to them. So veterans tend to do very well in our program. Place a lot. So Chase is pretty much only veterans here in Columbus. Amazon is almost 100% veterans for us too. I think we do place a few non-veterans there in the Seattle and then in the Washington, D.C. area. We have a lot of people in our program that still retain their top secret clearance. And so that's a very important thing for Amazon. So we take those folks that identify as still having a TS, I think it's an SPI that we need, and we let them interview with Amazon typically, because they need them for secure data centers. And I get asked, often, locally for, for other security related things, can I get somebody with a security clearance? Like, yeah, we got tons of people in the program that have at least a secret, and quite a few that have a top secret, because not everyone gets picked up by Amazon. So we do have some folks in there that still have a TS but are not going to Amazon. Again, this is a tiny bit outdated. We update the data about every quarter, and you can see we're still at 887 on this screen. But the real thing here is that we're taking people from jobs, from lower paying jobs, and we're putting them through great training and then putting them into great higher paying jobs. So we're really making a difference in people's lives. It's a dramatic increase in salary, and at 86% of the folks are retained, and that means they're retained at the end of that 1 year OJT process. Again, a lot of people have college degrees. They just got them in something, fun, like German, but not maybe so valuable in a technology workplace. But it's okay. I still had fun, and I'm sure they had fun too. I thought I saw a thing pop down here in the chat. I'll see if I can do that. Okay, good. Levels, okay. Yeah, if you're in the UK, apprenticeships are commonplace. I see Ian put something there about that. Yeah, that's cool. Right. So your question is, how does what we do compare to the degree certification that they get in the UK? And again, it is this journey level worker document that folks get here at the end of that. It's the same document that you would get if you went to a skilled trade apprenticeship here. It's just a certificate saying you've completed the requirements to be a journey level worker in whatever job, and that's these occupations here. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's good. So yeah, the retention stats are great. It's taken a while. We've been around a little over 4 years. I think we just passed the other day. It was the point where our very first person went into tech training 4 years ago. One thing that is, I think, super interesting in this whole process too is we're funded by the DOL for this national expansion, and we're funded through dollars that the Department of Labor gets for H-1B visas. So H-1B visa applications are paid into the way through the DOL. The DOL are taking those funds and they're distributing back out to companies like us that make more American workers. So it's it seems like a good thing the government is doing when so often we hear of bad things that the government's doing. But that's really how we're getting funded, and I think it's a phenomenal way. These are the occupations that we can oversee. Again, we don't do the training on any of this stuff. So when I talk to companies and I ask them about those 1 to 3 year job openings, we look at these kind of jobs. These are the the general generic titles. They could be something called different at the company, but our tech jobs are pretty much the same. The training is is filed with the federal government, and it says to be a CRM, CMS developer, Salesforce, for example, you've got to go through this upfront training. If the company wants to modify that a teeny little bit, they can. On this document here, it shows examples of certifications or languages that you might have to get. Cybersecurity analyst is one that we are really pushing these days because, as you all probably know, there's a need for folks like that. We need to get more of them into that system. So for example, that program, we would pull them out of that pool. Once the company selected them, we would send them through Network Plus training, then we would send them through Security Plus training, and then most often would be Certified Ethical Hacker. So they go through those programs, the training, before they're going to go to on-the-job training. And then they'll do that certification, part of those, somewhere through that 1.5 year process. Sometimes they have to have it prior to getting into the OJT, and some obviously, after they've done some OJT. I know our CRM developers are going to get Salesforce Administrator in their OJT period, and then they have to get the CRM developer certification before they're, thoroughly graduated, if you will. They can still be retained and kept, but once they get that, they'll get their certificate. So we oversee a lot of different jobs in different cities. In Columbus, Ohio, pretty much all software analyst and CRM developer right now. We should be opening up some jobs for JP Morgan Chase for cybersecurity here. They'll be in Dallas and Delaware, I believe, right now, the first set. So again, we can place people anywhere in these jobs. We'll oversee them, track them, find the training, make sure they get their certifications. Here's some places that we have that I know of that we have upcoming openings. There's a person sort of like me in all these places. Sometimes it's part of a membership group. Like in Cincinnati, our program is run out of the chamber, and Nashville is run out of the Nashville Tech Council. So there's membership type organizations that use Apprenti as part of their workforce development plan in tech. So they're out looking at their members to find jobs. Like I said, we just did 3 software developers and at State Auto Insurance, and then we've got 6 more coming that we'll be interviewing for Chase here in Columbus. So again, we are a nonprofit, and we have a lot of government and public-private funding, but we do have a revenue model, which I think every nonprofit should have. And ours is pretty light. It's $2,500 placement one time per head. And all the stuff we do, going out and finding the folks and getting them into the pool and getting them through the assessment and then doing the interview. We do 2 interviews before we ever take them to see you to interview, and then managing the process, all the paperwork, all the way from end to end. We do that for $2,500 a head, which I find amazing. But it's great that we can keep that price low so we can get 1,000 people into the program. This is an example, that it's software development training is about $15,000. Again, that will typically split with the company. Either the company will pay it all, or if we can get grants that are, normally the grants are state-based, then we would cover that. Some in Ohio, it's half and half. And then this other number here at the end just means that typically while people are in the registered, when they're in the OJT part of the registered apprenticeship, you pay them less. You pay them a percentage of market rate salary. So again, if you want to hire somebody 1 to 3 years of experience, let's say you pay them $80,000. You're looking for somebody $80,000, have 1 to 3 years of experience. Well, you're bringing in an apprentice who doesn't have that. So you might start them at $60,000, and then there's a step increase in the middle as long as they meet time and competency. You might take them to $70,000 at that point. And then at the end of the year, if you retain them and they've qualified everything they need to do, then you would take them to that $80,000. That's the base level of your 1 to 3 year pay band. There's no tried and true. It's not always $60,000, but the point is that if a company has to pay for training and has to pay our fee, financially, you're going to make that up a little bit in that first year. Yes, they're going to have lower skills early on, but as that year goes by, they're going to be more and more valuable to you, and you're still going to be paying them less than you would have paid, for bringing in somebody at that level. And you've built them, you've grown them, and we think that that's much better retention. And then, of course, their goal is to get retained at that market rate salary. So, it works out good. I'm about all done. I'm almost done here, and then look for questions. I don't have a full hour's worth of stuff. It's a pretty simple program, but we love what we do. This is some of the companies. Again, we've got 70 or 80 companies now that we work with across the United States. Big ones, we got Kroger in Cincinnati, JP Morgan Chase, Huntington here in Columbus, Microsoft, Amazon, Great American Insurance in Cincinnati, I know. So we've got a lot of the bigger companies that we're filling roles for, because it's an easy way to outsource that pipeline of new talent into your system, because it's not something typically that the HR team really wants to spend a lot of time on, right? I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to find that newbie and dealing with newbies and going to boot camps and trying to interview, people who've graduated the boot camp, which are great, but you're picking from a tiny little pool. You're picking from just the people who can afford to go that and pay their own way into that training program, as opposed to this giant pool of, like, I have 300 people just in my pool right now, almost 20,000 nationally. So, you get to pick from that pool, much bigger, much more diverse than just the people who graduated. And you're not, and you're competing with other companies when you go to that as well. Here, you're not. So we've got a lot of companies that are using this as that source of new talent. We've got tons of ways to get experienced talent. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So couple good questions in there. Michael says, I agree with you. All the partner logos that you've shown are large companies. How do you interact with smaller 10-person companies? That's a great question. And obviously we put the big companies on there, so everybody goes, oh, I've heard of that company. I've placed a couple here with smaller companies. State Auto is kind of a small, but they're not a 10-person company. It doesn't matter the size of the company. Like, I don't need 6 people in a cohort to go. I put 2 people at Huntington in CRM training. Again, big company, but a very small department within that company. We just need, the company has to ensure that they have a supervisor that can mentor the apprentice while they're in the OJT portion. That supervisor has to have been in the job at least 1 year, so they can answer the questions, and they have to be available to the apprentice 75% of the time. That doesn't mean standing right next to you, but it does mean, text or phone or, down the hall or whatever. So they have to be available. So a 10-person company, no problem. You just got to meet those requirements. We want the apprentices to come out of it with a great experience. Ian says, how hard is it to get companies to take apprenticeship seriously? Yeah, my experience is that they see this as cheap labor. Ian, that is, I will say it's not a huge challenge. I do hear that sometimes. So what we do is kind of like, in the military, again, I had it, I trained people, and there was a training plan. And we want to enforce that same requirement onto the companies, because that's the challenge. Because often people will do that. Companies will say, we need some new people, and make them diverse. Go to the boot camp and get me somebody. And then they bring them in and they go, I don't know what to do with them, especially software developers. They often get shoved in QA roles, or do that. Read the documentation. And our job is to make sure that doesn't happen. So again, I'm the first sergeant of this thing. So I'm also going to hold the company accountable, because every week they have to report their hours to us, and what have they been doing for those 40 hours that week. And they apply them to the components of the training plan. So for software developers, for example, they have to spend time designing software, developing software, maintaining software, testing software, planning software, and then all their duties assigned. And if I just keep saying 40 hours of other duties as assigned, other duties as assigned, other duties as assigned, I'm going to go to the company and say, hey, they need these things. They need all of these things to be qualified journey level worker at the end. So it's hard. They do see them as cheap labor, and that's what we're here for. We step in the middle. I've had to do that. We had one guy, leave the program because we just couldn't get the company to really give him the training that he needed, and he found it somewhere else. And so it's a bad thing to happen, but we spend a lot of time talking to companies and talking to our apprentices to try to make sure that doesn't happen. Mike says, my biggest problem as a startup would be lead time. And yeah, that is hard, right? across the pool startups. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I talked about that here in Columbus, Ohio. I spent several years as a commercialization director for tech companies here in this region, for our tech incubator here in town. And so I went back and talked to them, and that was kind of one of the things that we have been talking about. We need a couple of things to answer, but I guess you're being unmuted, Michael.
Yeah, I am unmuted. This is a double-edged sword, by the way.
Give you freedom to roam.
I trust you, Michael, but yeah.
No, you should not. You should
That's
not.
okay.
You should
But the challenge, I'll just answer the question, and I'd love to hear more. But we don't want to train people, because this is hard for us too, right? Because I got to tell
totally.
big companies, I got to go, hey, this is a freaking great program. Just need you to wait 6 months before I put a person in your seat, because I have to do the interview process. I have to find the training. I have to put them through training, and then they finally show up on your doorstep. And so it does take a bit of planning. I've had a hard time getting into startups here, and I know tons of them here in Columbus, having funded a ton of them. The challenge with startups tends to be we're moving too fast. Like I can't bring on a newbie, man. I'm already overworked. I can't bring on a newbie and carry him around with me. So that's usually a challenge.
Yeah, I got that. Let's see, behind the scenes, the part that you don't know. I mentor a lot of startups through several different programs now.
Where are you located?
Always, say again?
Where are you located?
On the North Shore in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But that doesn't mean that I'm working with startups necessarily in Boston. I've got, like, right now actively, I've got one in New York City, one in Ireland, one in Singapore, one in Washington, D.C., one in Austin. There's just a bunch in and around and everywhere. They always need developers of some kind.
Of course.
But it's one of those where, like, I can't wait for somebody to make it through
boot camp training.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big lead time. Bringing somebody on as a junior developer, totally cool, because we're not sometimes it's better if you don't know what you're doing, because we don't have to untrain people's big company ideas. But if they have a good architect or a good CTO that works with them, they can make it happen. And they're usually pretty good, pretty fun jobs. I mean, there are other issues, right? Like, is the company going to be around, and what exactly are you going to do, and things like that. But
I'd like to see our apprentices go there. Like, once they finish their 1 year, like when they're done with their 1 year of OJT and they get that certificate, because it's a great farm team, right? So
exactly. That's exactly
you spend a year
what
at
I
Chase.
look at.
Yeah, you spend a year at Chase, and Chase can be a tough place to work. It's big. It's it's a lot going on. Sometimes it's not that exciting, I guess, maybe in some cases. If you don't like I don't like working in a big company, right? So I would have trouble. But if I had to put my year in there, then I could go to a startup, and then
honestly, if you make it through a year of Chase, just we can pick on Chase. You make it through a year of Chase, you've got some kind of programming skills that meet what I need. I would turn around and hire you in a heartbeat. Okay.
Yeah, it's better than just hiring them straight out of.
That is the farm pipeline. I might not have the appetite to do the other piece, to do the full program,
right?
Which doesn't, like, I would get all the free stuff, all the cool stuff that I want, and not give anything back. So we'd have to figure out how to make that work. The other thing that I need is like marketing people that don't suck. Right. And
I can't help you there.
You can, though. You can. Because you can do technical sales, folks.
We can. You're right. I have never done one, and I don't know if you've ever done one at all. But it says we can.
when you're in the startup world, the more technically oriented your marketing and sales team is, the more effective they actually are. Okay. So I think there's something in there that might help my guys, that might help my guys in that side. Or you could take somebody who, yeah, they're an okay programmer, but they have people skills. Don't laugh. But I could retread those into something else, right? Where maybe, yeah, they kind of had a hard time making it through a programming career track, but man, if they can at least understand some of the tech, I have a use for them.
Right. What I would say, so you're in Boston,
and you get into the CRM. See, what perked my interest was the CRM piece, because if I could take on an intern that could build out the marketing tech to actually create a pipeline for my companies. I've got a handful of companies right now that they're like, look, we've expanded via family and selling to family and friends, and we're at the point where we actually need some kind of structure around it. That's a perfect place to bring on somebody who can, establish a CRM, establish a pipeline, do progressive profiling on customers and stuff like that. Like, there's a huge niche for that my guys would have.
Yeah. So a couple things. Yes, but we care about the people once they graduate, but I have no, like, once they hit that 1 year and they get that certificate, they are alumni and off they go. And we try to assist them if they need it.
Yeah.
And so
okay.
You're in the Boston area. They have a pretty vital program there. They put, I don't know, 50 or 60 people through in that program maybe over the past year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
So you would talk to Ethan, who we can connect you with, and Ethan would know where those folks are, where they've gone since they've graduated, and that's just being nice. Like, that's not a part of our model. Like, once we get them to we don't deal in qualified people, if you will. Like, once they're done and graduated, we go, thanks, man, congratulations, love you. Maybe we have you speak at some things, but we don't.
Yep. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
But I would definitely get to talk to the folks in Boston about that. Because it's humans, right? It's humans. So I even have sometimes, the person doesn't like where they work in the OJT process, and it's still my responsibility to try to get them to the end, to get them 2,000 hours and qualified. So sometimes I can, I got to do something with them. I can take them to another place who says, sure, I will assume the training plan of that person, and I'll sign them off. And, they may have 6 months of training already. So there's, knowing Ethan and talking to him, there's just a lot of human things come up. And I do hear all the time, like, okay, I'm done with this big company and I'd rather find a small company. I would love to do, to do the startup thing. Like I said, I've taught entrepreneurship and worked with startups forever, and love to do the thing, what we wanted to do with tech, what's called Rev One now in Columbus, and have them fund it. Like, have them fund it, and then let's put people through the training, and then put them into the startups, maybe, because they have freaking tons of money that they're using to invest and run programs. Run this program. You want to impact diversity with startups was the mission that they had. Great, let's do it. Let's take maybe 4 people out of my pool, make sure they are very diverse and mature. Let's put them through the training, grant money, your money, let's do that. Now we have those people, and now let's put them in some startups and let them, maybe stay at one for 6 months and another one for 6 months, as long as everybody agrees that you are getting a registered apprentice and you have, you will abide by the rules of registered apprenticeship. I tell people that, if you call a plumber to your house and that plumber just graduated, just got his journey level worker certificate as a registered apprentice, you want to make sure that they can do everything in your house. Like, you don't want to go, hey, I need you to do the faucet. And they go, I didn't do the faucet thing in my apprenticeship, right? That wouldn't happen. Like they might go, well, I did a faucet once or twice, but I need to call my guy and help me. But they at least have seen that through their registered apprenticeship. It's the same thing with tech jobs. You don't want to go, hey, after that, like, hey, you know how to do, like, you know how to code this stuff? And they go, no, I didn't do that. I was just QA the whole time and read books. Like, can't do that. That's not producing qualified workers for the tech.
If I could jump in here for a second, we have some other questions. Also, Michael, I know Ethan, the Boston rep. So if you do want to talk to him, I can track him down. Specifically.
Here's my executive phrase of the day. Yeah, let's take that offline.
Yeah, circle back, Roger.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Hey, I got to jump because I have to teach the next class in like 15 minutes. So, but thanks, man. I gotta. Yeah. Hey, you're not supposed to say that.
All right. So we've got all right. So from Patrick,
I'm trying to track it here. I'm sorry if I can't.
No issues. So from Patrick Siebert, I hope I pronounced it right, Patrick. Do you have any plans to expand into the Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, or Atlanta areas?
I saw that. So, we would love to. I saw the list of the cities. There it is. I would love to go to Greenville, Spartanburg, man. That's where I'm going to retire. My in-laws live down there. I love it down there. I'd love to go down there and start the program there. But right now, we don't have any plans right there. Atlanta, I know we've been talking about it, talking to some folks in Atlanta. To get the program started someplace, you've got to have, you typically have to get some funding because you got to pay for a human and some stuff that you got to do. But there's tons of foundations that will grant those things. Our program here started a grant through JP Morgan Chase's philanthropy side. So that helped start up a couple of our cities to cover software or startup costs. So that's typically how it's going to get into those other cities.
Got it.
I'd love to go to Greenville.
So Jillian, did I pronounce it right? Jillian? I hope. Let's see. Usually Jillian. There we go. All right. So okay. Jillian, I think she just started to show up in VetSec more often, which is very exciting. I think she might be a new join, but currently she's in the baby stages. Her words here. She started WGU, which is do you know WG Western Governors University? Have you heard of the program?
I think so. Is that the one with the owl?
Yeah. We VetSec has a bunch of people who have done or are in the program. So she started on over the summer on a BS, and she hopes to graduate in June 2021. And right now, school is sort of a full-time job right now, as I can very much empathize with because I'm in grad school as well. What advice would you have for someone like Jillian looking at, is Apprenti a good fit? She's in school right now and has 2021 is when she opens up again.
Right. So a couple things. So if you go into training, like we put people into the boot camp training, it is, Monday through Friday, all day, every day training. So we tend to tell people you really can't do much else. Like then you have, stuff you got to do after class. So working or going to another school is very, very, almost impossible to do. So if you go through that process, if you graduate, we can waive the upfront training requirements in some instances. Because again, registered apprenticeship is upfront training, call it related instruction, and then OJT. We can waive that upfront related instruction in some cases, and those cases typically are related to certifications. So if you've passed a certain certification and you come to us with that, and this company over here wants you, we can make the match, we can waive it because you've already got the certification, and then you would just go straight into your 1-year OJT. But often, I don't know what your degree is in, but sometimes folks finish that degree, yay me, and then they want to be a software developer or a cybersecurity analyst. And so that's a boot camp is required after that. And so whatever you learned here is helpful, but you've got to go through the upfront boot camp training just prior to OJT. We try to finish training on Friday and start the job on Monday is how we line everything up.
Right, right. Makes sense. Jillian, did that answer your questions? Oh, she also asked, is the apprenticeship program virtual at all right now or all on location? Although I think that probably clarified, that was sort of answered by proxy there. But is it virtual or is it all
Well,
on location?
well, it's everything's virtual right now, man.
Yeah, of
I'm
course, right?
presenting to you from my basement. Right? So it used to be that we didn't prefer any kind of virtual training, right? Because again, a lot of this is technical, right? And you need to be in groups, especially our software developers. We wanted them in groups. You work in groups, you build software together in groups, and while you're in training, you're going to be working in a group. But then all of a sudden the plague hit and everything is now virtual. So I have a class, my software developers will start in a week, and it's all virtual training. And when they
Right.
get done with the virtual training, they'll go to a virtual job. So this is really key right now with these Chase openings that I have. We're interviewing people all over the place. We've told them that at some point you will need to move to Columbus, Ohio if you get this job, because Chase will want you here. Now, initially, if you live in Texas and you get through the interview process, which is all going to be remote, and then you get hired and you go through the training, which is all going to be remote, and then you start the job, which will be remote, that's fine. You can stay in Texas until the point where they go, okay, we're all coming back to work now. And you're going to have to be in Columbus, Ohio at that point. So it's very, very fluid.
It's a very dynamic situation at the moment,
yeah,
right?
I mean, my class, I had a class of software developers, all veterans. And the thing hit when they had, I think, 3 weeks left in training. So the last part of that training is you work in a team to build an end-to-end software solutions to
Sure.
prove that you've learned, front-end development, middleware, and then database structure. So you have to build a web page that takes information, takes it to the back, comes back and shows it, right? So you prove, hey, I can do this. And so they all had to do that remote. Like they left on Friday, and Monday they were all like this, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, of course.
And then they went to their job, and then 2 weeks later, like, okay, we graduated, all, and in process at Chase, like this. And so it's been interesting. Just one more thought on this, and we're getting in, but that is a little bit of a hang up for the VA in paying for some training programs. And so, because the VA, just to certify a training program, they have to certify the location. You have to been in that location for 2 years. You have to have the same curriculum. You have to all this stuff you have to file. It has to be for 2 years, right? So then you get that certification. Now people can use their GI Bill while they're in the training. And so I've got veterans that are starting next week, same place that's been approved, but now this is an all remote class, and the VA is saying, that's not the one we approved, man. We approved this one. You're doing a different one. No GI Bill for this one, which is a real pain because I got people that need that money to live. So the VA and the DOL are, they need to figure that out.
Yeah, well, that's the times, capital T there. Let's see. So we got about another 2 minutes here, and then this is also recorded, so we have this for posterity. Does anyone else have any questions before I can close it out here with my own?
Jillian, man, you're gonna have to have 2 lines on your business card. Yeah. All the letters and then all the letters again, man. That's a lot of letters.
That's a heck of a list of certs.
Again, yeah, I would sign up. It's not going to hurt. Just go to our website and sign up and pass the test and pick the cities that you're eligible in. You pick Columbus, and I have a job, and I call you, and you go, I got all these letters. I go, okay, great. Well, let's have you interview with the company, and if they choose you, and you've already got the certification, then let's waive the training and put you right to job.
So, fair enough, Jillian. So to close it out, what really excites you about the work you do, and what are you looking forward to doing with Apprenti over the next X months? Why do you do this?
Great question. I love working with people, and I love helping people, and I love that I'm now in a position that I could do that. Whatever got me here, luck, hard work, whatever it was, I'm here now, and I have an opportunity to help people. So what drives me is, just seeing, we just have so many stories of people that came to us, and they had crappy jobs, and they were looking to get a career, and we were able to do that, and now they're making, in some cases, a whole lot more than they were making prior.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people are unemployed that are coming to us. They're unemployed or they're underemployed. So that's what drives me, man. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, right on.
It's great, and I create relationships with them, and
yeah, I mean, you guys don't sponsor VetSec, so this is really coming from a genuine place. The people that work for Apprenti are just very impressive, and it seems like you guys are doing great work. So it's great to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. And Kevin at apprenticareers.org is how to get in touch with Kevin directly. And also, thank you for the grace when I completely butchered that Air Force rank. So Chief Master Sergeant, retired Kevin Gadd.
That's okay, man. I don't care. It's all good.
Right. Yeah, well, be well and I hope to stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. You'll have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, stay well.
Good speakers.